I'm 42 years old, and I'm finally talking about the 3 years that I lost. When I was 20 weeks pregnant, my maternal medicine doctor told me that I was at very high risk for developing preeclampsia and that I would have to be monitored very closely. When I went back to my OB and told her this, what she told me was she actually chuckled and she said, "Oh, preeclampsia, that's not a big deal. I had preeclampsia and I'm fine." And I believed her because she was the doctor and because, that's what you do. You listen to your doctor. Fast forward, I went on vacation to Arizona. It was probably around 21 weeks, 22, 21 weeks. And when I returned, I was extremely swollen. My rings were not fitting on my hands. My eyes were, you couldn't even see my eyes. They were so small. They were like so swollen. So I made a visit, with my OB, and I went to her and I was like, look at me. Like, I'm swollen. My eyes, you can't even really see them. My hands are so swollen. And I was like, I'm also having, like just trouble breathing. Like, I was going on daily walks and I was just having trouble breathing. So I told her this and she was like, oh, like it's probably because Arizona was so hot. That's why you're so swollen. She's like, your blood pressure is a little elevated, but it's no problem. She's like, and I was like, well, I'm having issues breathing. And she's like, oh, it's no problem. It's because the baby is, getting bigger and he's taking up more room. And she said it was really nothing to worry about, is what she told me. She told me, just monitor your blood pressure at home, and that's what I started doing. And I kept on seeing the numbers go up higher and higher. So I would message her, and she's like, "Oh, don't worry, like once the numbers are like at 170, 180, that's when we should be worried." And I was like, "Well, like it's at like 165." Close to 170. And she's like, oh, that's, nothing to worry about. The baby's used to the high blood pressure. And I should have known something was wrong then. At 24 weeks, I went into my maternal medicine appointment. And when they checked my blood pressure, and the nurse was like, you drove yourself here? And I was like, yes, I drove myself here. And she's like, I'll be right back. And then she came back and she led me to the maternal medicine doctor. And he's like, Shell, your blood pressure is 198. Over 100. He was like, you are about to have a stroke. He's like, we're very worried about that. And he's like, and you're having your baby today if he makes it. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to think. I was in shock. I'm like, I'm 24 weeks pregnant. I'm like, there's no way my baby is going to make it at 24 weeks. I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, haven't you been monitoring your blood pressure? And I was like, I have. I was like, like I've been messaging my doctor. She's told me not to worry about it, not to come in. And um, I was admitted to the hospital at that time. I called my partner. He came running over to the hospital. I received 2 doses of magnesium. If you've never received magnesium, I don't wish that on my worst enemy. It just feels like your whole body is on fire. I was then transferred in an emergency ambulance to another hospital who had a level NICU for my son if he was to survive. Um, I was admitted at 24 weeks. I was in the hospital for 8 days, 8 to 9 days, where I couldn't move. I wasn't allowed to leave my bed. I couldn't do anything because they had to monitor the baby's heart rate. They were hoping for the baby to at least make it to 30 weeks was their plan. And I told the doctor, I'm like, if I need to stay in this bed for 10 weeks, whatever it is, like I will stay in this bed. And then I asked the doctor, like, hey, my blood pressure is back to normal, the specialist. And I was like, can I leave? Can I go back to work tomorrow? And they're like, do you realize like how severe preeclampsia is? And I was like, no. I was like, nobody has really explained it to me. And they explained it to me that it was preeclampsia with severe features. That not only was my blood pressure severely elevated for the chance of a stroke, but also, like I had the swelling and I had the protein in my urine. So I had different, things that were going on, as well as my baby was IUGR. So he was very small for his age, and his heart was in trouble. So his heart rate was just elevated and then it would drop down. So I spent all that time in the hospital, and then at 25 weeks with 5 days, I was awoken at 3:30 in the morning by a nurse telling me that my baby's heart rate was in severe distress. And I had an emergency C-section at 3:30 in the morning, and that's when my baby was born. He was in the NICU for 110 days. And I went home without my baby. And it's something that nobody prepares you for, to go home without your baby, to hear all these other moms in the same ward as you know, with their full-term baby and just crying and happy and everything. And you're just there without your baby, and you have to go visit them in a little incubator. You're not even able to hold your child. Um, so I want to be really careful here, because I'm not here to tell you, to distrust your doctors. But I'm here to tell you this, that I listened, I followed the rules, I did what I was supposed to, and I called, I messaged my doctor, and I I showed up to every appointment. I took my little aspirin like I was supposed to. I did everything I was supposed to. And I almost had a stroke, and my son almost didn't make it. The person who was supposed to be listening to me really failed me, and they did not listen to me. And if you're pregnant and something feels wrong, it doesn't matter if your doctor brushes it off. Speak up for yourself. Do something. If you are monitoring your blood pressure at home, and if it's extremely high, make sure that you get checked out. For me, it was the blurry vision I had, the chest pain that I had told her, the swelling, the high blood pressure, and but he listened. So these were not normal pregnancy symptoms from what I was told then when I was in the hospital. These were signs that my body was in distress, and it was also a sign that my baby was in distress at that time. So you are allowed to question your doctor, go to the emergency room if something feels off. And I'm just sharing my story to bring attention to preeclampsia, and to also, let it know that there's still many women that look like me that go undiagnosed because their doctors don't take them seriously. And yes, my son is here, and we've had so many struggles, surgeries, we've had so many therapies, and he's brilliant, and he's amazing, but we almost didn't make it. He almost didn't make it. And I've carried this story for so many years, because it's obviously so hard to tell, and a lot of therapy, and it's really what truly has helped me. But the postpartum anxiety and the postpartum depression, I'll talk about that later, was very hard to deal with, as well as the PTSD surrounding the birth of my child. So I'm just talking about this because, in case somebody needs to hear it, and just again to bring more awareness to it, especially on Preeclampsia Awareness Day, which is today. So maybe that's you, or maybe maybe the story could resonate with somebody that or that you care for. The symptoms of preeclampsia can vary from person to person. I was monitored after I had my baby as well, because there's also the chance of preeclampsia after having your child. So I'm just telling you, if you're pregnant and something feels off, make your voice known. And this is why I advocate so strongly for my child now. My child was diagnosed with autism a year ago. And this is why I advocate for him so loud and so much, because my voice wasn't heard. And your body. And I just wish, I wish that things would have been different. But I'm just here to share my story. Maybe it will help, one person. And that's really it for now.